Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, which is a chat with postgraduate students from the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences. So just to let you know a wee bit about the outline of today's event, I'm joined by 5 students within the faculty, and they're all postgrad students and they're studying a range of courses, including masters right on to PhD. So the layout of today's event will be each of the students will give you a little bit of background about themselves, about why they chose to study at Queen's, and also about their journey as a postgrad student so far. So hopefully that'll help you make some of your decisions when thinking about studying a postgrad. And then we'll also at the end bring all 5 students back together and we can have some questions answered live to them. So you will see that you'll be able to ask any questions throughout the webinar. I'm also joined today by 3 members of staff from the faculty. So in the chat box we have Emma, Chauncey and Catherine, and they'll be able to answer any course specific questions that you have. But please feel free, any questions that you have for each of our students, just type them into the chat box, and at the end I'll be able to field the questions over to them. So as you can see, we have 5 different students from a variety of backgrounds. So I'm now going to ask Ellen if she would like to come online and if she would like to just tell us a wee bit about how she came to study at Queen's and how she's finding her course. So hi Ellen.
Hi, so my name's Ellen and I'm from here in County Down, and I actually studied my undergraduate at Queen's and I studied food, quality, safety and nutrition. So I'm currently studying a master's in marketing, and I think my interest in marketing came through a lot of part-time work throughout my undergrad in marketing, which led me to apply to the degree during my finals in my undergrad. So last summer, just whenever I was finishing up, I decided to go to Chicago, and that's where I did a marketing internship. And it sort of came to the stage where they were like, you could stay on for a year, or I could have come back to Belfast to do my master's. So I decided to come back, that it was the best choice for me. And I was looking at a few universities, but I think it was the fact that Queen's had the internship route in semester 3 that really was the reason why I ended up picking Queen's. So the placement office is really helpful for sorting out the internships. They have a lot of connections, and the graduate school as well was really helpful with helping with interview prep and CVs and mock interviews. So I think definitely if it's something you're interested in, I know a lot of courses do internships as well. So it was definitely something that encouraged me to come to Queen's. And just being a student here and the graduate school and joining clubs, I know I joined the surf club, although didn't get away on any trips, but everyone's really friendly and really happy I made that decision to come and study my master's here at Queen's. So yeah.
That's great, Ellen, thank you. So you were saying there that the main pull then, so the reason that you chose to do your postgrad at Queen's, was that the fact of the placement year, or what was your main reason?
Yeah, I think it was whenever I was looking at the course content, it was more practical. I'd obviously had the theory as well, but it was very practical, which I thought would be really helpful for whenever I'm actually going into the workplace. And then also the internship, I think getting that work experience, especially in such a highly competitive field, was definitely would be really good experience. So I think that was the main drive, as well as I had stayed in Belfast and went to Queen's, so I was just to Belfast as well. So
yeah. And then your undergrad was in the food, quality, safety and nutrition, is that right? Yeah. So obviously, you know, people would think like of doing food, quality and nutrition, and now you're studying marketing, so obviously two different faculties and a bit of a crossover there. How have you found you know, the step up from an undergrad in food and quality to a master's in marketing?
I think the thing that surprised me the most is I sort of did think that most people in the course would be coming from business backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And within the first week, there was people from all different backgrounds, people who had maybe been out and worked for a couple of years and came back, and people who went straight in from the undergrad like me, and just a range of degrees. So it was very set at a level which everyone would be able to get in, and the first couple of weeks it was just maybe a wee bit more work for us doing some background reading. But no, I didn't have any struggles with it at all. It was very well organized, and I think it kept in mind that everyone doing the course wasn't from a business background, which is very helpful for me.
Okay. And then you mentioned there in your video, or just when you were chatting to us, about the actual placement itself. So did you find, was that something that you had to go and seek out yourself, or was there any help that you received from Queen's in doing that?
So Queen's, we had specific classes for people who were interested in the internship as well, like additional classes. And during that, we got a lot of sort of CV help and interview help. And then also we're given contacts of other people in Queen's in the Student Guidance Centre and the Graduate School, that if you wanted to go and do a mock interview or wanted someone to look at your CV. So there was that. And then the placement office has a lot of connections. So they were given loads of all the different connections for us to get in touch with. And through the placement office, they would send our CVs on to those employers. But also a lot of people in my class maybe were working part-time with someone doing marketing, and that was still fine. So I would think it was a mixture, but most people in my class who wanted an internship got it through the placement office and got an internship in general. So
that's great. So yeah, it's good to let anyone know that thinking of that course or thinking of some of the courses that come with the internship, that I suppose that support there at Queen's, and that we're able to help even with the likes, as you say, of preparing CVs and preparing for interview.
Yeah.
So Ellen, thanks very much. We'll hear
Thanks.
from you a wee bit later in the presentation. If we'll now hand over to Rhiannon Morgan. So hi Rhiannon, how are you?
Hiya, can you hear me?
We can hear you perfect, Rhiannon. So Rhiannon, you're studying the PhD at Queen's. So if you don't mind just telling everyone a wee bit about your background, how you came and how you came to study at Queen's.
Yeah. So I originally done an undergraduate in history at Plymouth University, and then one of my lecturers at Plymouth actually suggested Queen's for the masters. So I ended up doing a 1-year masters in modern British history, which I really loved. And there was also a placement opportunity with that, which is quite unique. So I worked up in Hillsborough Castle for 3 months, I think it was in total. And then I knew I wanted to do a PhD, so this one came up through Northern Bridge, and I just went for it. So I'm going into the final year of my PhD now, and I'm mainly working with working class communities in East Belfast, so doing oral history interviews. And I've also got a 6 months placement with Belfast City Council through my PhD as well, which is really good because I really wanted to look at how academic history could be spread out to the wider public. So I'll get to look at a bit of heritage and different things. But one of the main reasons why I chose Queen's for the Masters and the PhD was the lecturers. So I'm very much interested in modern British history. And there was about 4 or 5 modern British history lecturers who were just doing everything that I wanted to do in the field. So I found that really interesting. And also, obviously, from the accent, I'm from South Wales, and I love just moving away. So when Queen's came up, I had a little look around Belfast for the weekend, and I just absolutely loved it. The city's really nice. Everybody was really friendly, and I just kind of felt like I fitted in straight away. So I've been in Belfast for about 3, nearly 4 years now, and I still love it. So I'd probably say those were the 2 main reasons. And yeah, just enjoying the PhD at the moment. Obviously, it's a bit hard with everything going on, but hoping to get back to Belfast soon.
That's great, Rhiannon, thank you. So obviously you've mentioned there, yeah, you took the step to come across from Wales over to Belfast. So did you come over for a tour of the campus then, or
Yeah, so I came over, I had a gap year in between my undergrad and my master's because I was saving because they didn't have the finance that they got now. So I came over for the weekend with two of my friends and it did rain the whole weekend. But I absolutely loved it. So we came over, had a campus tour, and I just kind of decided that it was somewhere where I could see myself living and enjoying. So I ended up applying for it.
And then in terms of doing the PhD, how did you find, obviously you studied your master's, so that gives you, a bit of a stepping stone. You were able to get used to Queen's as well. But how did you find then the step up from the master's to the PhD?
I think actually the masters, because it was a year and there was so many different topics that we covered with essays, I found that really intense. And then actually with the PhD, it's more about your own research and you kind of guide it yourself. Obviously, you've got your supervisor to support you, but it's very much what you want to look at and what you enjoy studying. So I'd probably say I enjoy my PhD more than I did my master's in terms of being able to choose what you study, what you work on. And it's one topic area, so it feels, I think, less overwhelming than with the masters where you've got loads of different topics that you really enjoy learning about, but there's quite a lot of variety to go around. So I'd probably say that I found the PhD maybe a little bit easier in terms of workload than the masters.
Okay, that might surprise some people. And then just in terms of Queen's, in terms of, I suppose, extracurricular or I suppose the student life thing. So for example, I've worked with you previously because I know that you're one of our student ambassadors. So I know whenever we were obviously on campus, you would have been about quite a bit and you'd done some of the student tours. So having been on a student tour yourself, we were then working as a student ambassador. So do you want to talk a wee bit about your time doing that?
Yeah, so when I came to Queen's, obviously doing my masters, it's always nice to be able to like earn some extra money, but then still be flexible. So I looked at the student ambassador job, and yeah, I've done it for about 3-4 years now, and I love it. It's just really talking about your experience of Queen's and kind of helping other people. So a lot of people come over from England, Scotland, Wales, and had a lot of the same issues and concerns that I had. So I think it's just nice to give people a reflection and try and tell them how you found it. So then it makes it a little bit easier for them. And because I really enjoyed my time at Queen's, obviously that makes a difference.
Yeah, no, that's great because obviously, as you say, when you're a student, it's probably best to hear from other students and their experiences. So yeah, just to let everyone know that there are opportunities as well to work on campus. So to work when we're back on campus, to work doing the likes of student tours and work in the Students' Union as well. So Rhian, thank you very much for that input. Okay, so I'd now like to welcome Lee. So like Rhian, Lee is also studying his PhD. So Lee, if you would like to come on and just tell us a wee bit about your background, where you studied your undergrad and how you came to study the PhD at Queen's. Oh, sorry, Lee, I think we've lost a bit of the sound there. Just check your mic if that's okay. Sorry folks, so we seem to have some technical difficulties with Lee's sound there. What I'll do is then I'll maybe leave Lee to a wee bit later if we could ask Madison. Madison, if you're available. So Madison is actually one of our international students. So Madison has joined us from the USA, and you're currently, I know you're currently in the Queen's Halls of Residence at the minute. So again, Madison, if you just want to give us a wee bit about your background and just about your story and how you came to study at Queen's.
Yeah, so hi, my name's Madison. completed my undergrad in 2015 in the US. I got 1 degree in creative writing and 1 in religious studies. During my time in undergrad, I spent a semester studying abroad down south in Limerick at the University of Limerick. So during that time, I took a weekend trip up to Belfast and just fell in love with the city in the first place. And then a professor of mine was pretty knowledgeable about what I was into, what work I was wanting to get into, and recommended I look into this particular master's program. So I've wanted to come and do this specific master's at Queen's since 2013. But when I finished undergrad, college athlete, 2 majors, I was not ready to go straight into postgrad. So I took 4 years and I worked as a teacher. So 2 years in the US and 2 years in Indonesia. And then I decided that it was time to go ahead and come and get my master's. So it's not the ending we were all anticipating, but it's really been a great year. And I just submitted my last papers today. So now I'm full-time dissertation, which is very exciting.
That's great, Madison. Thanks for giving us that wee overview there. So I suppose one of the interesting things where you're maybe different from the last few students we've had speaking is you actually done your master's and then you worked as a teacher, as you were saying. You've done some traveling and some working. So it's really great to let anyone know. I suppose a lot of people do think that you have to go through the traditional route of undergrad straight into masters. So how did you find that transition? Was it a big big decision that you had to make, or?
It was nice because I knew I did want to come do this program for a while. So that certainly helped. It was very strange to go from being in the front of a classroom to being a student again was probably the largest adjustment. But it was really nice too because at least in this program specifically, we have a massive range of people from all sorts of backgrounds and different ages. So there's people who are years and years older than me and years younger than me. And it's a really nice mix to get to have that in there. For me, it was a lot of people just think, like you said, like you have to go straight through. And I believe that like a master's is something that if you want to do it, you should be able to get really excited and feel ready to completely throw yourself in. And I was a little burnt out after a really like intensive undergrad experience. So I'm glad I took the time and came back later.
That's great. And then obviously you said you had the experience of being able to visit Belfast, obviously before you actually signed up to the Masters, which I suppose is always nice if you can do that. Just in terms then of in terms of being an international student, have you been involved? Have you found, for example, any help from the likes of the graduate school as a postgraduate? Or have you got involved with any other of the departments within Queen's?
Yeah, so I love the graduate school a lot. The support they provide for us is just absolutely amazing. I've been able to do some leadership programs through the graduate school. They helped me get in contact with people for different volunteering opportunities around the city. I think the fastest thing I learned here is how relational Belfast is. It's all very much like, it's not a lot of places in the US where every opportunity is posted online somewhere and you just have to go find it. It's more about letting people know what you're interested in and then asking them to kind of support you in that. And the grad school's been great with volunteer opportunities, volunteer placements, and then the leadership program as well was really solid.
Yeah, it's definitely, the graduate school is probably my favorite building within Queen's, and we have some really nice buildings on campus, but yeah, it is lovely. So just to let anyone aware as well, you can go onto our website and check out the opportunities from the graduate school. So as you said, you were able to undertake some leadership courses, and we also offer writing courses as well. And it's a good way to get to really mingle and know other master's students and postgraduate students in an environment which is just for our postgraduate students. So that's great, Madison. We'll chat to you in a wee bit then. If we can see if Lee is available. So Lee, is your sound working? No, unfortunately, that's okay. We'll have to, we'll come back to you at the end, Lee, and see if your video and audio were working. But we'll finish up then with one of our last students to speak, before we open the chat and direct the questions to the students. So Alexandra, hi Alexandra. So I know you're studying the same course as Madison, and that you're also an international student from the US. So if you just want to talk us through a wee bit about your background and how you came to study at Queen's.
Yeah, sure. So like Madison, I'm from the US. I'm from New Jersey. But unlike, I'm also in the same program as well, the Master's in Conflict Transformation and Social Justice. But unlike Madison, I have come to Queen's directly from my undergrad. So I did my undergrad I got a degree in international studies and a degree in film and television. While I was in my final year at university, I was kind of having I didn't know what to do, and I didn't, because obviously what I was studying were two very different disciplines. And I talked to a professor who had taught an Intro to Peace and Justice Studies course, and he saw that I was really interested in the class. So he recommended that I look into the program that I'm currently in at Queen's University. And I think what I loved about it, and what is common across a lot of the postgraduate courses, is that they're very specific, and their specificity is unique, in which I looked at other universities and I didn't kind of see the way that they mix different programs like they do at Queen's. So honestly, when I applied, this was the only postgraduate program I applied to. And if I didn't get in, then I just wasn't going to do postgrad yet. But then I did. And then as an international student, I'd studied abroad in my undergrad in Granada, Spain, but it was more through my university. So they kind of helped us out and did a lot of the visa stuff for us. So coming here, I was, my home university wasn't helping me because this was kind of something I was doing on my own. But then I would reach out to the international student support at Queen's, and they were unbelievably helpful. I probably emailed them way too many times, but they really stepped me through the process and guided me and, helped me get to here, to where I am now. And yeah, I've had a fantastic year here. I think my expectations for the program, for Belfast, for doing a master's, were completely exceeded expectations. And that's definitely because of Queen's University's help with making sure that before I came here and once I got here, that everything was figured out for me, and that I felt comfortable, and that there's so many ways to get involved and to meet new people, like the orientations at the beginning, and looking for jobs and joining societies and whatnot. And yeah, I think other people have mentioned, but the graduate school is a wonderful place where you can kind of meet people within your program, or meet people in different programs through the Shut Up and Write sessions, and coffees and breakfasts in the morning and whatnot. So yeah, I've really had a fantastic year.
That's great. Thanks very much. So that was quite a statement you made there, that if you didn't get onto this specific course, that was you with doing a master's, you were going to go to the only course that you applied for. So it really was all or nothing. Yeah. So what was the main pull then, in relation, why Queen's? Was it down to the course? Was it the academics? Was it reputational?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I think it was a mix of everything, because it's no secret that Queen's is has a fantastic reputation, not only within Europe, but internationally. So I think that was definitely a pull. And also just this, the courses, and, I was able to talk to some of the convener for the course ahead of time. And I think this isn't just specific to my program, but to all the postgrad programs, is that, all of the conveners are really, really helpful, and they want you to basically get the most out of your experience. So I think being able to talk to some people as I was applying, and then after I'd gotten in, was definitely made me feel secure in making my decision to come here. And then also it was definitely the pull of, being able to live in a different city, and experience a new place.
Yeah, so I know, unlike Madison, you applied for the course having never been to Belfast before. So, how have you found? I know chatting to you earlier, you were saying you done your undergrad in the Bronx, although you're from New Jersey. So, how did that kind of, you know, life in Belfast, I suppose, compare to home life or your undergrad?
Yeah, it's definitely different. But I think in the way that it's the best of both worlds, where I live in New Jersey, it would be a little more like neighborhoods and kind of suburban area. And then whereas living in the Bronx, it's really, really urban. It's in New York City. So I think what I love about Belfast is that you can kind of get that city experience if you want to. You can go to specific areas, and like Queens offers housing that gives you that city experience down in the BT1 and BT2 housing options, which I know a lot of postgrads live in. But then you can also kind of remove yourself from that sort of urban feel and just kind of, there's like so many different neighborhoods and, you know, less kind of city life aspects to Belfast. And again, there's other Queens housing options that you can kind of make your choice of what you want. And I think also that Queens is really good at making you acclimated to the city and whatnot when you first come here, or even if you have been here, they kind of show you different spots that you didn't know of before.
Yeah. And I know both you and Madison actually at the moment are still in Belfast, still in the student's residence. So I know from chatting to you earlier, you'd said, you know, that's quite, I suppose, to anybody who's thinking about studying at Queen's as an international student, or even closer to home but haven't actually lived in Belfast before, that you find it, you know, quite comforting in the fact that we're in the middle of a lockdown, I feel like, with the COVID-19 pandemic, and both you and Madison have, you know, feel secure and safe enough to stay in Belfast in the Queen's accommodation. That speaks volumes, really. So if I just welcome all of the students back now, if you want to turn on your mics and turn on your cameras, so we can start to take some questions from the chat box. So Lee, can I just check, is your audio working for us? No, sorry, Lee, we can see you, but we can't actually hear you at the minute. Oh, sorry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up, the chat box has been opened up, and I know some questions are coming through. As I say, they can be sent privately as well. So if you want to ask anything and don't want any of the other delegates to see it, please ask it privately, and we can get that answered for you. But just before we receive any questions, then if I could just ask, I suppose one of the main things people want to know is really what's your highlight of studying in Belfast. So if we just, I'll just ask you each of you individually, if you want to tell me a bit about what your highlights. So it can be about moving to Belfast, it can be about the lifestyle that you have here, or the course specifically, or the building, for example. So what have you enjoyed most about Queen's? And I'm just going to start with Rhiannon, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I would probably say the highlight has been moving to Belfast. I love the city and everybody's so nice and friendly, and I've really enjoyed being able to interview and work with local communities as well. I think it's just such a nice mixture of different things going on, and it's quite a nice size city, so it's not too big, it's not too small. So yeah, I'd probably say the city itself has been lovely to live in.
That's great. And Ellen, what's been your highlight so far?
I think the social life, definitely. Everyone's so friendly in Belfast, and like everyone would speak to you no matter who you are. And I think, like, especially in class and stuff, like everyone makes such an effort to meet up after class and outside class, and you really do make friends for life, sort of thing. So throughout my 4 years here, I've met a load of people, and I think definitely the social aspect is probably one of the biggest highlights for me.
That's great. And Madison, are you going to stick with the social, or have you any other course highlights for us?
Mine's actually tied, I would say, to our program, because studying conflict, transformation, social justice, all those sorts of things, Belfast is really like a living case study of that in a lot of ways. So it's very interesting being a student of conflict studies and then being able to be in a restaurant and one of these very social people comes up to you to chat, and once they find out what I'm doing here and what I'm studying, they're automatically wanting to tell me their experience with conflict over the years, and where they think the city is now. And there's such a unique point of view that for my program specifically it was a huge draw before I came here. And then now that I've been here, it's been like exceeding any expectation I had as well.
That's great. And Alexandra, how about you for your highlight?
I would say just Queen's housing, which kind of sounds ridiculous, but then like I think the housing that I was put into, so I'm not in like one of the dorm or like apartment styles, I'm in a house style, and like basically all of my friends, at least for the most of the first half of the year, I've made like were people that I was living with, and I think that alongside that, like Queens has a lot of programs for people that you know, have to kind of stay close to the campus in which they can meet new people, whether it be the the grad school, or like, you know, I went to the international student orientation at the beginning and I met people through there. So I think that, you know, if you are coming here and you don't know anyone like I did, that just, I mean, like being in Belfast, people are very friendly just to begin with, but then Queens goes the extra mile to make sure that you kind of feel at home and that you do make friends and whatnot.
That's great, yeah, and I know that some of the other students post some of the comments that we've had in as well, just touching on what you said, Alexandra, is, for example, whether you're an international student or a home student, so even the likes of, you know, Ellen, who's, as she said, from County Down, they do offer for postgrads like breakfast mornings, and even on a Sunday morning you can go to the Students' Union and get breakfast, and it's free breakfast. It's a nice way to meet other people as well. And get talking to people about your courses and find out people with similar interests, I suppose. And then you touch there on the accommodation. So if anyone's interested, you know, don't think that the accommodation is just for undergrads. We have a mixture of postgraduate students living in our accommodations. So you can go onto our website and look at the different options. I know, for example, Madison, you're in, is it BT1 or BT2? So you're in one of BT1, is it?
Yeah, BT1 down in the city center. I have a studio apartment because I did decide I was maybe a little too old to share with multiple other people. But it's great because every floor is a massive mix of different sizes of rooms and spaces. And there's international students, there's local students, there's students of all different ages and programs and everything. And then BT1 being right in the middle of the city is really nice. So it's nice to have everything lumped together. The security guys, honestly, some of my favorite people in BT1. They're wonderful and friendly. But yeah, could not recommend BT1 enough, especially as an international student, not knowing how to sort out an apartment while I was very far away. This was a great go-to.
That's great, yeah, and so that's quite a new apartment block that you're in there, Madison. So that's city centre. You're maybe a maximum of 15 minutes away from the university itself. Whereas Alexandra, I know you're a wee bit closer. You're in one of the more the kind of traditional style houses, just a wee bit closer to campus. So it just shows the array of accommodation that is on offer. We have a question that's come in here for Amy. So we'll see who wants to answer it. So Amy has said she's just about to start her MA degree in history, and afterwards she'd hoped to go on to study a PhD, and she was just wondering what she can do to make sure she gets the most out of her MA year. So if any of you want to answer that question, so how can she prepare to make the most out of her MA? So for example, in terms of whether that's academically or personally or professionally.
Yeah, so because I went from the MA in modern British history and then to the PhD in history, I'd probably say Queen's have got a really good postgrad community within history. So we've got like, normally we'd have a weekly seminar on a Friday afternoon where the lecturers and PhD students go, and you have guest speakers in. So when things like that maybe do start up again, definitely go to those. Another thing I would say is academic Twitter. Quite a lot of people now, especially historians, are using Twitter as a place to get to know the people's research and to put yourself out there. There's also like a public history blog. If she wants to get involved in that, she can write the piece for it. And I would just say to try and network and just try to really engage with different people, different students on her MA course, on the PhD, or lecturers. Just get chatting to people really about their interests. It kind of helps you shape yours then going forward.
That's great, Rhiannon. Thanks so much. So we have another question coming in then about how are the lectures designed? So I know obviously you're kind of broad range of courses within the faculty, and that might range. So Ellen, do you want to answer that from an MA point of view? So how have your...
So for our lectures, they're mainly designed as in big sort of lecture halls. So we would be with our class for most of them, which would be the marketing, but we do share classes with the international business, the business management and business analytics. And then we could select there's this elective module. So with those classes, you are also put in with business analytics or just your own smaller class. And then there's also smaller tutorial groups. So there would be smaller, say for in our degree, there was like computer rooms for more research and techniques and methodology. So that would be for our dissertation, which we'll be starting in semester 3. So for semester 3, which we will be starting in the next 4 weeks, I'm doing the internship with the dissertation, but I know a lot of the other courses. So there's like consultancy projects or traditional dissertation or academic research and stuff. So for the first 2 semesters, it is mainly your classes, and then semester 3 is your action research or academic research or dissertation.
That's great. And then Madison and Alexandra, do yours, do the structure of your lectures or your course differ much from Ellen?
Well, I think it's like Ellen was saying, how you're not just with your course the entire time, like how there is a mix, because our course is within the HAP school, so it's history, anthropology, politics, and philosophy. And then there's a whole bunch of other more specific courses within that, like ours. So what I really liked about my courses was that, and I think Queen's is really into like an interdisciplinary approach to education, so that you're not just taking, if you were doing an MA in anthropology or history or something, you're not just taking history courses. Like you kind of have the opportunity to take, a history inspired, like a philosophical historical class or something like that. Like there's a lot of crossover, which I think is really great about the postgrad experience, is that you're not just seeing the same cohort of people every single day in all of your classes. And that also just helps you to meet different people as well. And attend different lectures or different talks or whatnot that are being offered in different schools. So, yeah.
That's great. And we have another question in then. So I'll maybe ask this one. Start with Madison, since she didn't get around to answer the last one. So it was just about workload. So how have you managed, how is the workload on the courses, and how have you managed that?
So workload here is very different from college in the US. So for us coming from more of that background, workload here feels a lot lighter because it's a lot more independent. Whereas in the US, you're in each of your classes 2 or 3 times a week. You have reading from Monday to Wednesday. You've got a couple hundred pages. Like it's just balanced completely differently. Whereas for my course at Queen's, we have your lecture and your tutorial seminar, however they're going to call it, once a week. And then you have the full week too. If you want to meet with professors, you can. If you want to have study groups, you can use, like Alex mentioned earlier, shut up and write at the grad school to get some productive hours in. There's there's just so many different opportunities to be able to schedule your time for what works best for you, which then also means if you're wanting to take advantage of other opportunities like work jobs, like jobs or placements and different other things, then you have the time for it. So yeah, I think there's definitely an aspect of it helps you learn that independent style of learning if it's not something that you're already super confident in, which then I think can only set you up better as you move forward into other work.
That's great, thank you. And then Ellen and Rhiannon, do you have anything to offer there? So in terms of workload, have you found that you're studying all the time, or have you managed to fit some work in and around your studies?
Yeah, for my course, I think it's more based around sort of like group work. So we'd be working in groups, say for most of our modules, and presentations and stuff, just the way obviously marketing is designed. But I think through doing that, then you're obviously meeting a lot of people and providing, like, everyone's doing their own different parts sort of thing over the course of the whole semester. So usually we would have maybe 6 or 7 weeks to do one report, which would be split up between, say, 4 or 5 different people. So I think it is well spread out, rather than just doing independent work. But we also have had our own independent reports more so this semester. So I think it just depends on the course. But I don't think that the workload's been too heavy. I think definitely being able to balance sort of your work-life balance and have a part-time job and stuff. So
yeah, so if you've been able to work part-time then, Ellen, as well as manage your studies?
Yeah.
That's great. And then Rhiannon, I know you're slightly different in that yours is a PhD, but as we touched on earlier, I know that you had said, you've done some hours in terms of working as a student ambassador, so that you can pick up the hours when that sits. I know a lot of people have a few questions about, so for example, working and the life balance and taking that jump to do a postgrad. We're going to put some links up onto the chat about accommodation, but we'll also, after the webinar, we'll put up some links in relation to the student funding. So it's a wee bit different for international students. And if anyone has any questions, you can contact international@qub.ac.uk, or we have Catherine on the chat today that will answer any questions. But also, I think it was touched on earlier about the tuition fee loan that students can receive. So students from the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland can apply for a loan to cover their tuition fees, which I think is the equivalent to £5,500. So that goes towards quite a lot of the fee. And then also the likes of students from Great Britain. So that's where Rhiannon would fall in. You can obviously apply for tuition fee loan as well. So Ellen or Rhiannon, did any of you take up the tuition fee loan?
Yeah, I took the from the student finance, that's the 5,500, and then just Queen's offers you can pay it off in 3 installments throughout the year. So I think it was paying off September, November, March. I think that might have been how it was. So it was well spread out. So obviously you weren't having to pay it as a lump sum, but if you had that opportunity, if you had the money there to do it, then I know a few people in my class picked that.
Yeah, so I suppose it kind of came, as well as you're saying with the student loan, if you're kind of sitting on the fence and not quite sure about studying, that's quite an incentive, I suppose, to do to kind of do your master's in 1 year, the fact that loan is available.
Yeah, definitely, instead of part-time, I think.
And then Rhiannon, obviously you're slightly different in you're the PhD. So if we can come to that for a bit. So unfortunately Lee couldn't join us. As I say, we were having some difficulties with his sound, but through chatting to him, just to give you a background. So Lee is a student from Northern Ireland. He done his undergraduate in Manchester, and then he actually came back to Belfast and was doing his PhD. So just chatting to him, a few things of advice that he had given was to look for your lecturer, get in contact with somebody who's doing a subject that you're interested with, drop them a line and have that conversation before applying. And I think he had came through the Bridge project, which I think, Rhiannon, is that how you got your funding?
Yeah, so there's different funding. I think the main ones at Queen's for PhD for Arts Humanities is Northern Bridge, which who I've got my funding through, and DFE. So they run different like event days through the year, which tells you like how to apply for funding, takes you through the process if you're thinking about doing a PhD. So during my masters, I went to one, and that's how I come across it. And they offer like all different types of funding for the different subject areas. So I think most people get it through either DFE or Northern Bridge.
That's great. So we've just got about 10 minutes left on the chat here. So again, if anyone has any questions, don't be afraid to put them into the chat box. So I know we talked about our highs and the course and student life highs of Queen's. So I suppose we need to balance that out a wee bit with our lows. So if I'm just to ask each of you now if there's anything, if you found any low points or there's been anything you would do differently. So Rhiannon, maybe starting with you, is there any advice you would give or anything you would do differently?
I don't think there's anything I'd do differently. I think because I'd lived away from my undergrad, I was still a bit nervous about moving away from my masters because it was a new place and I was unsure. But I think once you've done it once and you get back out living somewhere on your own, you end up getting quite used to it again. I'd probably say the only downside really has been like this COVID-19 coming along and kind of ruining the plans I had made for it academically and non-academically for the summer in Belfast. Aside from that, I'd kind of just say maybe I should have made the most of being in Belfast when I was there. And like I used to go into the office every day, which I loved, went to seminars every day. So I kind of just say make sure you make the most of being in the city and postgraduate experience, really.
That's great, Rhiannon, thanks. And Ellen, what about you? Has there been any regrets or any low points or anything that didn't quite hit that high for you?
I don't think it was so much low points, but I think sort of some advice would be just to make sure you get out there and try new things. Like this year, I joined the surf club, but obviously there's loads of clubs that you could join. But obviously with everything that's going on again, didn't get a chance to really get away as much. And I think I just kind of wish that I'd maybe went to more events while I had the opportunity to do that. And just really, I think just make the most of it sort of thing. But apart from that, I don't think I have any regrets or any low points really.
That's good to hear. And Madison, how about you?
I mean, apart from the whole pandemic thing, I would definitely say like it's been a really good year. For my specific master's this year, it transitioned from like one sort of special separate institute into the School of HAP. So of course there's some like logistical growing pains with that, but HAP's been really great with welcoming us in, and we're a very unique master's program where we kind of get to take classes from all over the place with pretty much whatever we want to do, we can. So they've been very welcoming and helped with a lot of that. Any of those growing pains have just been eased. In terms of advice, I think especially here, if there's something you're interested or something you want to try or you don't know if it exists and you might want to create it, just go ahead and ask, because like the worst anybody can tell you is no, and then you're still in the same place. And here people are very receptive to creative ideas. If you're looking for a part-time job in an area and you don't find one online, then just touch base with the people who work there. If there's a club you want to start, if there's a competition you want to start, there's so much room for that. But you just kind of take that initial courage to go ahead and ask. And then once it's out there, a lot of things happen.
That's great, thank you. And then Alexandra, is there any low points for you?
Yeah, well, kind of like Ellen said, I don't think there would be any, I didn't have any low points really outside of everything that's happening now. But then I think also with everything that's happening now, like one of the things that I wish I'd done more of, there was so many lectures and so many different kind of special events going on throughout campus that there's almost like too many. There's just so much to do. But I think what has been helpful with transitioning into this whole like kind of doing everything online is that Queens, like they haven't stopped doing lectures. They haven't stopped having sort of events. Like I think they were so quick and receptive to moving everything online so that the students don't feel like they're necessarily like, like they're missing out entirely, which I think has been incredibly helpful. Like, I mean, the grad school, during the time that we've been on this, I've gotten a grad school email being like, this is what's going on. These are the events we have this week. And even like an international student program that I was a part of in the orientation at the beginning of the year, they emailed us and were like, this is stuff to keep you entertained that aren't through Queens. These are things that are through Queens that are keeping you entertained. So I think, I wish I had gone to more lectures and stuff or like specialty talks. But again, there's just so many that at that point, it kind of just seems impossible, but that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So yeah, it's good to see that, I suppose, hear from you all that you have transitioned pretty well into the off-campus life and that you are still being kept up to date. So I know that, as you mentioned, the graduate school and lots of the other faculties are running a lot of extracurricular activities online still where they can and running a host of events. Just before we get round to closing today's webinar, I'd just like to go around each of you and just ask for a short, what advice would you give to anyone who's sitting on the webinar today, who's thinking, I've done my undergrad, whether it's recent or, or within the last few years. So what advice would you give anyone who's considering a postgraduate qualification? So Rhiannon, you can kick us off.
I would really say just to go for it. You don't know unless you try. I knew I wanted to do a master's and I put myself out there and applied for it. And I knew I wanted to do a PhD, but I didn't think I would be up to it. And then I applied and I got it. So I would say, you don't know unless you try. And the worst they can say is no, and you can apply again. It happens to loads of people, that's how academia is. So I would say just to put yourself out there really and to go for it.
That's great. Thanks, Rhiannon. And Ellen?
I know whenever I was applying and decided to take up my offer, I reached out to some people that I found on LinkedIn that were like doing the course and stuff. It's really easy to find people, especially if they're online. And maybe just see if you can chat to anyone who's either on the course who's done it in the past or maybe even in the same sort of school or even lectures and stuff. So I think just make use of those connections that are out there and you'll definitely find out a lot more about sort of maybe more like student life and stuff if you wanted to ask them any questions and stuff. And obviously, if you want to get in touch with anyone, I'm sure on here, then you know where we are.
That's great, Ellen. Yes, that's some really good advice. Maybe look out through the likes of LinkedIn and reach out to other people who are studying the course to find out more. Madison, any closing comments from you?
Yeah, similar. I would say use this time right now with everybody, for the most part, at home. Use that to your advantage. If there's a specific program that you're excited about, reach out to the program convener and see if they'd be willing to hop on like a quick video call to ask some questions. See if there's some current students who might have a little bit of time, because with everyone at home, it's like you can find 20 minutes to chat with somebody a lot easier than you can when we're all running around all over the place. So yeah, you just reach out to them and ask, and then any sort of resources they can recommend. You can always ask for some texts that might be on a reading list for classes in the program. And those kinds of things can give you a better feel for what a program might look like. And then remember, you don't have to do it right now. You don't have to do it this year. You don't have to apply right this second. Whenever it feels right for you, it's going to be the perfect timing.
That's great. And Alexandria, just some closing comments from you.
Yeah, just kind of echoing that. I think what I would say is to don't be afraid to ask questions. Like if you're kind of feeling financially, you don't know how you would be able to make it work, or if you're like someone either that's from Northern Ireland or from Europe or throughout the world, you don't know how, to kind of make that transition to living in Belfast. Just there's so many different offices and and groups that are tasked to work with specific problems. And if you email someone and they don't know the answer, they will always be so willing to help you find the person that does know the answer. So I think it's just, if you're unsure of something, if you're unsure of what program is right for you, or, if you should do full-time or part-time, just ask. And I think anyone will always be willing to kind of point you in the right direction.
That's great. So just before we wrap up and say goodbye, just for anyone listening, if you want more information, don't be afraid to go to our website, so qub.ac.uk, and then it's the postgraduate section on there, so you can see videos, some of the videos, and you'll also find out some of the future events that are coming up. Also anything about fees, finance, applying for PhDs, you can all find online. For anything more specific, for anything for domestic students, you can email studentrecruitment@qub.ac.uk, or if you have anything that's course specific, so if you want to find out any more information about courses and you know what area you're interested in, it's Ask AHSS. So ask ahss@qub.ac.uk. So that's great, girls. Just thank you very much for giving your input. I hope everyone that's been online today has benefited from it. You've given some great advice, I think, to anyone who's thinking about studying a postgrad. So thank you very much. And that's it from us. Thanks, now.